The Prime Minister of Togo, Madam Victoire Tomega Dogbe, President of ECOWAS Commission, Mr. Sediko Duka, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of EBID, Dr. George Anshekum Tonkor, Excellencies, senior dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and namaste. It's a privilege for me to join you all in this maiden edition of the ECOWAS Investment Forum. Allow me to start by providing an overview of the philosophy that drives India's development partnerships and also share with you the range of projects undertaken with our support in various parts of the world, particularly in Africa. India's approach to development partnerships is human-centric and comprehensive, offering assistance while sharing India's own development experience in a wide range of activities. These projects are demand-driven and are closely aligned with the interests and development priorities of our partner countries. The overall effort is to try and respond to the aspirations of the partner country, ensure the longevity of the assets created, and also focus on sustainability aspects. Our approach was summed up succinctly by the Prime Minister of India in his address at the Parliament of Uganda in July 2018, where he said, and I quote, "Our development partnership will be guided by your priorities. It will be on terms that will be comfortable for you, that will liberate your potential and not constrain your future. We will build as much local capacity and create as many local opportunities as possible," end quote. Accordingly, our project portfolio encompasses roads and bridges, railway links, ports and related infrastructure, developing and reviving inland waterways, upgrading border-related infrastructure, setting up power stations and expanding transmission line networks, ICT infrastructure, and enabling smoother flow of goods and passengers across borders. In addition, India has also undertaken a number of projects in the areas of healthcare, education, community development, capacity building, agriculture, and digital public infrastructure, contributing to greater economic and cultural connectivity. So far, India has offered more than $32 billion in lines of credit to 68 countries to cover over 600 projects. Out of this, Africa's share is nearly $13 billion spread over 42 countries. 336 development projects have been taken up so far. Out of these, 208 have already been completed. 85 are currently under execution, and the remaining projects are in various preparatory stages. Our projects cover power plants, hydroelectricity, power transmission lines and distribution networks, dams, roads, railways, ports, agriculture and irrigation systems, industrial units, skills development, civil construction and supply of equipment, among others. In recent years, new sectors such as telecommunication, defense, and solar power have also been included. Some of our iconic infrastructure projects in Africa include the Parliament building of Gambia, the Presidential Palace in Ghana, the Kosti Power Project in Sudan, the Mahatma Gandhi IT and Biotech Park in Côte d'Ivoire, the Nyaborongo Power Project in Rwanda, and the Supreme Court Building and Metro Express project in Mauritius. Others are important projects such as the first cement plant in Djibouti, the first milk processing plant in Mauritania, sugar factories in Ghana, Ethiopia, and Malawi, power projects in Sudan, Burundi, and Rwanda, technology parks in Mozambique, Côte d'Ivoire, and Eswatini, overseas campuses built by Indian universities in Tanzania and Uganda, and the metro rail project in Mauritius, as I just mentioned. As we look at the broad sweep of these projects, what stands out is that they have the potential to impact lives in a real way. India has been engaged with ECOWAS since 2004 as an observer, and the High Commissioner of India to Nigeria is concurrently accredited to ECOWAS. India's partnership with ECOWAS was strengthened Subsequently, as a result of the special arrangements agreed upon, making the ECOWAS Bank of Investment and Development, EBID, the only financial institution with the privilege of partnering in Indian lines of credit. As on date, lines of credit amounting a total of $1 billion have been extended to EBID. India has also allotted 10 ITEC capacity building slots per annum to ECOWAS since 2013. We have also been engaged in efforts to set up a joint study group to examine the feasibility of an ECOWAS-India preferential trade agreement, but more work needs to be done in this regard. In India, in all, India has offered 86 lines of credit amounting to over $4 billion to the 14 members of ECOWAS. 60 projects have been completed under these LOCs. Togo alone has benefited from 8 of these, covering projects in the power, health, and agricultural sectors. In addition to these lines of credit, India has also supported projects in a number of countries with outright grants amounting to nearly $4 billion. Capacity building remains a core component of India's development partnership with African countries. India's Technical and Economic Cooperation, ITEC program, established as far back as 1964, continues to be among the oldest and largest mechanisms for international capacity building, with a special focus on assisting our brothers and sisters from the global south, particularly Africa. Since then, we have provided training in a number of fields to over 225,000 officials from over 160 countries through more than 2,500 courses offered at more than 120 world-class institutions in the civilian and defense sectors. Out of these, nearly 37,000 civilian training slots under the ITEC programs have been utilized by civil servants from African countries in the past 2 decades. India has provided more than 6,000 long-term and short-term scholarships to African nationals in the past 5 years through the ICCR scholarships for undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD programs at select Indian universities. Skill development in IT as well as higher education courses in computer science have been a major success story in India's capacity building partnership. A total of 23 centers of excellence in IT in partner countries have been made operational in the period 2014 to 2024. Out of these, 10 centers of excellence in IT are in Africa and have trained nearly 57,000 IT graduates and postgraduates. Vocational training in hardware-related trades, often coupled with basic entrepreneurial skills, have been another major sector of cooperation. 8 vocational training centers have been set up in Africa. Nearly 10,000 youth have benefited from skills upgradation delivered through these centers. India's highly successful digital public infrastructure, driving greater efficiency and formalization within the Indian economy, is helping enhance financial connectivity with partner countries, reducing transaction costs for tourists and businesses, and also remittances from migrant workers. India's effort to promote India's TAC DPI among members of the Global South has resulted in a number of MOUs for adoption of various open source-based solutions, particularly in the areas of unique identity, unified payment interface, authentication, and cross-platform e-commerce. India recently committed a contribution of $2 million to the Africa Digital and Financial Inclusion Facility, ADFI, housed and managed by the African Development Bank, to promote the uptake of digital financial solutions and accelerate financial inclusion in Africa. We would very much welcome collaboration with EBID to promote the spread of DPI infrastructure in all ECOWAS member states to advance economic integration. We are also exploring possibilities for implementing projects under triangular cooperation with key partners such as the Quad, US, Germany, Japan, UK, and France. We also wish to expand such cooperation through multilateral platforms such as the International Solar Alliance, ISA, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI, etc., which India has helped promote. Our overall sense is that this approach can optimize synergies through coordinated planning and a pooling of resources. Dear friends, excellencies, The hangover from the COVID pandemic, further compounded by the geopolitical conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza, has caused serious disruptions to the global economy and supply chains, especially the food, energy, and fertilizer markets. Capital flows have reduced, even as debts mount. Developing countries are expected to bear the burden of developing climate resilience, industrializing without carbonizing, dealing with increasing climate disasters, and lifting millions out of poverty, all at the same time with minimal multilateral support. It is India's belief that the Global South has to be a much larger and more vocal participant in finding solutions to intractable global issues. We convened 2 editions of the Voice of the Global South Summit in 2023, where we discussed the concerns and priorities of 125 developing countries to be channeled into the G20 discourse. We are particularly proud of enabling the entry of the African Union as a permanent member of the grouping and galvanizing concrete G20 actions for the Global South. India has joined other countries of the Global South to underline the urgent need for comprehensive reform of the international financial architecture and a more inclusive and coordinated approach to global financial governance. International organizations and financial institutions, including the UN Security Council, IMF, and the World Bank, must undergo reforms to promote greater representation from countries of the Global South. Multinational development banks must find ways to provide sustainable and tailor-made climate financing options for vulnerable countries without exacerbating current levels of indebtedness. India counts on Africa as a valuable partner and ally in these efforts and initiatives that help harvest our intersecting opportunities and address our shared challenges. As a youthful and aspirational nation ourselves, we can relate well to the people of Africa, their aspirations, and to their vision of a future which does not leave behind the vulnerable and the dispossessed, a future where our potential as countries and as peoples have an opportunity to find their due expression. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. The deliberations during this event are timely and will give us a chance to ideate on the way forward. I extend my best wishes to the organizers and participants of this conference. Thank you very much.